crawling up seconds before 10 o'clock here on Thursday morning. So this is the Woodturners Coffee Hour number 118 for September the 8th, 2022. I see 32 on screen right now, and I recognize one fellow who's new to our club, John Ziegler. You want to wave your hand down there, John?
Hello, everybody.
You want to say anything about your coming bath and wood turning? I understand you just bought a lathe.
I just bought a lathe and I've just started to turn a bowl, and I was having a heck of a time with catches and what have you. So I figured I'd stop until I had a little bit more time to figure out what I wasn't doing properly here. But I'm excited to join this group. But it's astonishing the talent and experience that I've seen just by looking at your videos and notes and everything.
This is an unusual group. That's true. And we've been doing this every week for more than 2.5 years now. And some of you guys have been here since the very beginning, and others have dribbled on as we come along. So it's been a lot of fun. And it is entirely about wood turning, and this is a show and tell week. I do have a couple of announcements before I open the floor to whoever would like to show stuff. The main one is the screen behind me, of course. We are going to do live on Zoom at the Mid-Atlantic event in 2 weeks. We're going to be about 5 hours of live, maybe 6 hours of live Zoom over the 3 days. We'll cover everything except the demos. They don't want us to cover the demos because they're afraid people won't attend if we show demos. So we're going to show everything else, including the vendors. We're going to use breakout rooms, so you can actually go into a breakout room remotely with a vendor and ask your questions and give them your card numbers and arrange for delivery and make a deal all through the Zoom. We're going to cover the instant gallery. We're going to cover the opening event and the meet and greet and show all their slides and interview people. We're going to make a video of the setup. You know, when the elephants enter Manhattan with the Ringling Brothers Circus, they come in through the Midtown Tunnel, and it's kind of fun to go down there about 3 in the morning and watch the elephants enter Manhattan. Well, we're going to watch the lathes enter the Marriott, and it's kind of the same thing. They come in on big motorcycle lifts and rolling, and a bunch of guys pushing, and we'll get 4 behemoth lathes in there on Thursday sometime. We'll video all that and show that as part of the meet and greet, and then on the Sunday at the silent auction, we're going to do the silent auction again using breakout rooms and show whatever frolic is going on in the room. So I'm giving you this pitch here because I'm urging you all who are remote especially to take a chance. We need to have an audience here. We're trying to do something new. It's $25 for the Zoom, all Zoom ticket for the 3 days, and yeah, like I say, we're trying to do something new. We're trying to create a new form of a new way of enhancing regional events through Zoom and using what we've learned here in Coffee Hour to do it. We've made a pretty substantial investment in making it happen. We've got a Zoom cart that's going to go around that's fully loaded with cameras and a hotspot and a laptop. We'll have a big TV and we'll have 2 monitors really. So we're going to do it up proper. But to make it really work, go to the Mid-Atlantic, go to mawts.com and cough up your $25 and join us. We'll love to see you. So that's my pitch for today. Any questions about that?
Hey, John, have they considered, I mean, because I've seen a couple of other organizations, and I know Ham Radio does this, where they'll do the presentations and you can attend virtually for a lower cost. Are organizations looking at something like that?
Yeah, but they're still, the thing is they got caught by the pandemic, and it used to be we did wood turning weekend symposiums in high schools and college workshops and like that. So it was low cost, and it was, you could handle several hundred people. Then they got into the huge national symposiums, which require a big city convention center, and that requires a contract a couple of years in advance and a lot of money on the table. And you got to make your minimums, or you wind up paying for hotel rooms you didn't use. That's what they're facing nationally. That's what the Lancaster, or rather the Mid-Atlantic, is also facing. So they're very wary of doing anything that might reduce in-person attendance. And they figure that people are going to come and show up in person to see the demos. I actually think there's a middle round, and what by creating this live on Zoom enhancement, I'm hoping to, at the next stage, create a second tier of live on Zoom. We do the social thing for $25 or $20, and then we do a Zoom demo thing. Hey, it might cost $100. If you want the demos, you got to pay. But before any of that can happen, we got to establish that we can do it at all, and then we got to establish that I think that the regionals, especially the smaller ones like ours, probably have to get out of convention centers and go back to trade schools in order to make it really work in the current environment. people just aren't going to cough up $300 a night for hotel rooms to come to a symposium. I think. I don't know. We're going to find out.
I think you're right, John, because when you look at $1,000 to travel to one of these things, plus the cost of the event, it's a lot of money to put out.
Yeah, it is. And there's a place where we can do it virtually and get a fair price and give people a really good experience. The organizations, the sponsoring organizations, are just getting used to it and getting their heads around it. So I hope we can prove the point that we can do what we're going to try at the Mid-Atlantic. And then for step 2 next year, or the next chance I get, I'm going to propose a 2-tier thing. We come in and we do the social stuff. You want the demos? It's not going to cost you as much as it would to attend, but it's not going to be free either. So I think there's a middle ground in there and some creative pricing and planning that can work. It's just the organization or organizations really has to find its way to it.
Hey, John, quick question.
Well, let me just finish here and I'll go to your question. Toward that, through our efforts from this group, we formed a hybrid meeting forum to air out some of these issues, and that's now generated a working group to form a formal AAW standing committee on new technologies, audiovisual tech, supporting the clubs in this transition, supporting individual members as well. So there's suddenly a lot of motion on that front on the AAW side. And I must say it's long overdue, but I'm very glad it's finally happening. Sorry, Jim, you had a question or a comment?
That's a technical question. What mic are you using this morning? You seem low compared to the rest of the guys, and you're hollow sounding.
Okay, I'm talking into the MacBook mic, I believe. Yeah,
I'm really interested just because of what's coming up with.
I
understand.
understand.
It sounds fine for me. I don't have any problem with his sound.
Well,
I'm talking about the balance with the rest of the guys.
I just tried a different mic. How's that? Any better?
That's a lot better.
Lots better. Okay, that's the mic inside the camera.
I think it's worse quality though.
Okay, well now I'm going to go back to the built-in mic. Part of what we do here is figure this stuff out. Now I'm talking into the MacBook built-in or the iMac's built-in mic. Am I loud enough or?
I like that one.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
That's much better for me.
Better? Okay. All right. Let me see. Any hands up who want to, or anybody want to comment on any of this whole situation, Zoom and the Mid-Atlantic and the symposiums and like that, or we'll go on to our morning.
How is the Mid-Atlantic doing for population? Do they get a lot of people signing up, or are they having trouble?
They're having trouble. They're treading water. They're going to make, I think they'll make their nut, but barely, as I understand it. They didn't allow us to even open the Zoom for registration until after the early sign-up discount period. So they're really quite worried about it. I think they probably have enough, and we'll see. And frankly, if the Zoom thing works, that's also a revenue contributor that helps the event get off the ground and keep going. So
have they considered just doing like Saturday sign up? Because I'd be interested in just going for one day.
You mean for the Zoom or for in person?
For the in person.
Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to talk to them about that. I don't know what they considered in that regard. I know that other events have had one-day signups. I don't know if Mid-Atlantic has done that. Is anybody here from the committee who may know? No.
I'm on the committee, but as far as I know, they're not doing any one-day signups.
We are going to get a little glimpse of the demos. We'll see the demonstrators' presentations and we'll peek into the rooms, but that's just to tease you guys into attending in person next time, I think, or buying into the full Zoom package, which I hope we can offer. Okay, show and tells here today. I have a video to show, about a 5-minute video. Who else wants to put their hand up and show stuff? I see only me and 2 other guys, 3 other guys. 4 other guys, 5 other guys. Okay, we're on a roll here. I'll hold my video and go to other people first. How about you, Toby? What do you have?
I just have some newer pieces that I made.
Go for it.
Oh, okay. Let me share my screen here. Here we go. Seeing that?
Lovely.
That is elm. It was a piece of firewood that I saved as the inside of it. There's just an oil finish on that. This is a piece of maple burl, and
Wow.
I dyed the heartwood on the inside here with a light coat of red, and then I put blue over the whole piece.
On top of the red too?
On top of the red also. This is a side view.
How big is that, Toby?
That is 11 by 3.
Phew, nice piece.
All right.
So just you make these yourself. So what's the retail on a piece like that for you?
I think I have 145 or 155 on that one.
How do you keep the dye from getting into the edge? That edge is so nice, clean.
I use a paintbrush, a small paintbrush, one of those acid brushes, and I come up from the bottom here and just wipe across the top. And there's underneath the bark which was on the rim here, is that
Cambium.
the cambium layer there, and it seems to be somewhat impervious to the dye. So you don't have to be real exact. Just bring the brush up on the outside, same way on the inside. Just go from the bottom up.
You're working with terribly dilute dyes anyhow, aren't you? They're really thinned out.
Yes, couple drops and about half ounce of water.
So you take the bark off after all the dyeing's done?
No, before. I
Oh,
take
well,
the bark off before.
then the cambium layer is not there anymore, is it?
Well, whatever whatever layer is left, it does have a glossy kind of shiny feel to it, at least on this maple.
Neat,
That's all.
neat.
You got another one?
That's the only way I can explain it.
The other question is, that's a very sharp edge. I'm sure it's intentional, but anybody who handles that is at risk, right?
Not that sharp.
Well, these points up here are on some of the pieces are fairly sharp, but you just be careful. Grab it by the edge, not by the rim.
Right.
This
Another
is
There you go.
oh, any more on this one?
We're just seeing this
I'll move-
one. Yeah. This is the
I'll
blue
move
one.
on.
We're looking at the blue one with the bright colored rim, and now the brown one.
Okay, this one's cherry burl, and if you can see in the center here, it was rotted out in there, and I filled it with clear resin there and over here and a little more in certain areas, so I could get a grip on the back of it. This was laying on top of a pile of logs, and I drove by a farmer's field, and I stopped and asked him, "Hey, can I have that one?" So that's why the outside is all rotted around here. Here's a side view of it. You can see the rot going on. And this one is 11.5 by 4.
So how soft is that rotted areas, the white areas? I mean, are they going to come off in people's hands?
They would, except I coated them pretty well with my clear spray paint. So it kind of solidified pretty much. But when I was turning it, yeah, it was kind of flaky.
Did you ever think about coloring that? Those white dead spots always drive me a little crazy, my personal thing on wood.
You mean using my dye on it?
Yeah, or whatever to darken it down.
You
Wow.
can, but it really shows up totally different than the natural wood here. If I put blue dye on here, this area here would come out sort of purplish down in here, and up here it would be bright blue. So it's really be just as accentuated, the contrast between the two, if I put dye on it.
Gotcha.
So I just leave it natural most of the time. I have done some though, which maybe next time I'll show a few of those.
Next slide.
This one is willow, sort of a burly piece on the base of the burl. That's a lot of figure, a little out of focus back here, but that's what happened. This is the inside of it. This one I just put blue dye on. The natural color of the background of the willow was sort of yellowish, so it came out green and blue in certain areas. Oops. See the blue here, green here. The underlying color of the wood changed the final look of the piece. And this one is 5 by 3 inches. And this piece is the first piece I showed, no, the second piece. Anyway, the other maple burl was actually a core from this piece. And this one would have been a much larger piece, but it got real thin. I didn't show this one last time, did I? Does anybody remember this? Okay. So it would have been about 4 inches bigger than this. This is 9 by 2. But when I was coring it, it got real thin.
When I spotlight Toby like this, does he appear on your screen along with the share?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Where do you
Not
see
on mine.
him? Upper left, upper right?
Center right.
Center right, okay. And can you move him around and enlarge him?
No, no. Oh, yes. Yes, I can.
You can. I think that's on a local control. Yeah.
I've only
Mine
got
is
the
bottom
picture.
right.
I only have to picture, John.
So do I.
It's quite variable. I have it. I have the machine set, so you ought to get Toby's mugshot alongside his piece. But it's some people don't get it, and others it shows up in different places, and it is subject to local control. And then you ought to be able to move him around and make him bigger and smaller. But again, it depends a lot on what computer you have.
Go up to the view and go down to side by side speaker, and it'll show up.
Okay. There you go. Everybody's got a different little set of controls there. Okay, I'm sorry, Toby. Go ahead. That's a lovely piece. I didn't mean to derail you, but we did need
Nope.
this.
No problem. We're all learning here.
Yeah. So what is
Anyway, I'll explain this one a little bit more. On the heartwood here, where the red is, I dyed the heartwood red like I would the first piece that I showed, and then instead of going over it with blue, I went over it with yellow. So the sapwood turned yellow, and the heartwood is reddish oranges.
very pretty?
Okay, go ahead with the questions.
Is the white in the middle, is that just reflection?
Yes, that's reflection from on my photo setup. I do it on top of the freezer in the basement, and I have this background set up, and then one light from one angle, and then I just try to move that around to minimize reflections. But there's reflection down there.
Does not frost from the freezer.
No.
Hey,
This
Toby, this would be a perfect one to put your face on.
Oh,
Right in the middle of it. It would be great. Sorry, that's the photographer in me.
yeah. I'll do that when I'm done here. Here's the bottom of it. And this
Toby,
is
how distinct were the color differences before you dyed?
how
In other
distinct
words,
were
the
they?
heartwood distinctly different than the sapwood on this?
It was a brownish color. Yeah, you could definitely tell the difference.
Okay. And it's off center only because of when you cored it, you had to recenter it, or, the heartwood goes all the way to the rim.
Yeah,
almost.
there was no way to control it. That's just the way it grew inside the burl.
Oh, okay.
You can't, if you put it on there and it's solid wood, you don't know how it's gonna show up once you hollow it out. Anyway, that's the last that I have.
That's a beautiful piece, beautiful work. Always impressive. I'm going to end your share then.
Okay.
Toby, next time, give us a profile shot straight on so I can see the profile of the bowl. I got a hint of it from the bottom shot, but
I can do that. If you let me share again, I can do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
oh, you have one?
Yeah. Let me just find it over here.
The profile's really instructive
Whoa.
about the piece.
Well, I'm not going to be able to find it with the way my program is set up.
You can
Yeah,
come.
never-
We can come back to you later. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go.
never, okay.
I feel like you're kind of the need to go on to somebody else, but if you
Yep.
find the picture, we'll put it up again later.
Sure.
Mike, do you want to try and show these pics you've got?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I want to give a disclaimer here. This is not my work. But we have a fellow in our wood turning club that met last evening that does this kind of work, and he has some really nice stuff. And I thought since it was a segmented turning challenge for Lancaster this month, I'd show you some of his pictures.
Now this is the Nittany Valley Club, yeah?
Right, Nittany Valley Turners here in State College.
Okay.
And this guy, when he sets this up, he actually draws it out on graph paper before he glues the pieces of wood together to know what he's going to come up with. And he can almost tell you what he's going to come bring out with it. It's amazing. All right, I can't get to the other photos.
There's a little arrow over there somewhere you can hit.
All right,
There you go.
it's another one. They're amazing pieces.
Are these like glowed up like staves that taper inward as to make the blank, or what's the blank assembly look like?
It's like a rectangular piece, and he has pieces glued together in, I don't know how to explain it to you, but it's really unique the way he does it.
It looks like he's gluing stuff in from almost every direction.
Yeah, and when you look down on the top of it, it has a different design. Like I said, and then he knows what it's going to be, but they're just amazing.
How big are these?
This piece here is probably about 3 inches tall. This one I think is about 5 or 6 inches tall, maybe a little taller. Ken Basco's on here. He saw these too last night. This guy's done a demonstration for us, and he's going to do another one in sometime this summer too.
Yeah, he tries to get the lid to match the design in the that comes out in the pattern. You can see the finial kind of looks like the pattern that's in the side piece there.
Yeah,
that's a nice touch to do that. Nice idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got another one?
I think I showed you most of them. Oh no, here's another one.
Huh.
And this is walnut, cherry, and there's some ash in this one too.
He plays a little bit with the grain pattern. Sometimes he puts it in one direction. Sometimes he puts it in another direction. He could do 3 or 4 blanks exactly the same together, and then when he turns them, just by the way he turns them, the pattern comes out totally different.
Yeah.
Now, when you touch them and feel them, do you feel discontinuities with the glue lines?
No, you don't feel that at all. It's very smooth.
No, it's very smooth.
Nice work. Other questions?
He's going to do a demonstration for us here, I think in next year. So he may be ready to go out and do other demonstrations if people are interested.
Yeah.
We can always bring him on here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Mike,
Okay. Any other questions for Mike?
yeah, Mike, just a
Yes.
technical question. Did you take these with your iPhone?
Yes, I did.
You were in live mode, and so we got a couple 3-second movies. You want to take it off live when you're shooting stills, upper
Yeah.
right corner. Yeah,
I was in a hurry when I did it last night.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
we
a
all
caution.
for that, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, let me see. Duxbury.
Okay. I need a screen share. Just a
You got to do
quick
it.
one.
You're allowed to. It's all legal.
Okay, let me see here. You see that?
No, we still got their black screen. It says you started screen sharing, but no image has got to me yet anyway. It says we're viewing your screen, but we don't see any pictures.
I'll be done.
There,
That
I'll
was it.
stop and I'll stop and
that was
start.
it.
You had
We
it.
had it.
It popped in.
Oh, damn.
I think what
just-
happened, Ty is putting on this. Often our pictures are stored in the cloud, and when we go to share, they have to download to our computers, and that's what the stall is about. And the only file you can rely
Got
on
it.
to bring in your computer is the downloads folder. Load them into there, and they'll come right up.
Well, I don't do great in the cloud, I guess. Anyway,
Put them in the downloads folder if you want to show them.
this is my napkin holder. The
This is
finger design.
this is Bert's design, yeah.
I mean, Bert, yeah, this is Bert's kind of design, yeah. This has the handle on the top, so kind of after Bert's design it. Yeah, that thing is really neat. This center shaft is made in 3 pieces. In 1 piece, you'd have side grain. In 3 pieces, it becomes like a piece of plywood, so you get strength in here. This is actually turned in 1 piece, the top and the bottom. This whole thing, well, you'll see it better in the next one.
This is actually Don's design, not Bert's. Is that right? Don, you're the guy who originated this, and then Bert refined it. Am I explaining that right?
That is absolutely right, John. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. His was really ornate, but this is a party napkin holder. It has toothpicks in the top. So that worked out. That really went over great.
You're not
Sure.
turning it as 1 piece or anything. That's multiple pieces, right?
Yeah, this is multiple pieces. There's the base and then the shaft up the middle with the cup on the top and the umbrella around the side.
Is the cup turned along with the shaft, or are those 2 pieces?
2 pieces, yeah.
So we saying 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 pieces here?
Just 3 pieces, 3 pieces. The top, the cup and the shaft are turned all at once.
Okay.
I glue this up to make 3 pieces to make it stronger. Also, I turn it round. The top of this is about 2 by 2. I turn that about 2 inches in diameter, and then I turn the shaft between centers. The whole thing, probably about, I think of 5/8 in diameter. And then with a small chuck, with the pin kind of chuck, not a pin chuck, a small jaws on a chuck, the shaft fits down the middle of my headstock. So I can run it all the way in, turn this entire top on here, clean it up, sand it, then feed it out, put a cup in the end of here and a point in the other end and turn the shaft. It works really nice.
Nice
What would you
technique.
sell a piece like that for?
I'm not sure yet, probably about $50.
You should have said
This-
150, but
Yeah. That's the 2 of them.
So it's a very pretty setup that
Yeah.
way.
Then I got one more. I'll quit sharing here. I didn't film this yet, but I just made this. I call this Bullseye. It's anyway.
So when it's sitting flat on a table, you move the ball to keep it rolling, or like how do you play with it when it's sitting down flat on a
Yeah,
table?
you just pick it up and move the ball, but it rolls for quite a while. The
Is
ball's
that-
maple with Sapelli rings in it, and the plug is Purple Heart, Yellow Heart, and Sapelli, I guess.
And the arc, is that 1 piece, or is that also a lamination?
The arc is 2 pieces. We don't throw anything away around
Get
here.
up so we can see it. I want to see it head on. Yeah, that's it. So it's got a slot. Yeah.
We don't throw anything away around here. That was the top of an elm bowl that crapped out on the bottom. And I kept the top rings and put the 2 together. The bottom's cherry, that's a base.
You're clever.
Anyway, no
Question?
hands.
Questions for Jim? Okay. Very, very cool. I'm going to take we have a share on you. I forget what we got
Gotcha.
control here. I'm going to remove the spotlight. I'm going to show a video here, and I'm going to do it in a different way. And let me see if I can get this right. Then I'm going to go to you other guys. It's a 5-minute video, but I got to do it right. And I got to remember how to do it right. So just bear with me.
Oh. It's too big. It keeps catching. Take my magnifying glass.
Okay. Do you guys have sound on that?
Low,
Did you hear music or not?
little bit.
Yes, but low.
Green screen image is coming through too.
Yeah, I'm going to get rid of that.
That's it.
Not wearing no face shield. They weren't invented yet.
I bet that's about 100 RPM.
How about?
Guys, we're working on making stair balusters, so we're trying to make a copy of this one. We didn't work out a manual lathe of this, and not really perfect, but we get close enough where it look good, foot apart on the staircase. So.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Hello, David. This is a watcher. This is what a watcher is.
So this is a little funny. This is one of those things where you try to learn, right? Hey, I'm not the authority. I want to listen to the authority. When I have to,
See that thing going wrong? That way, right? One twist up, one twist down, and get a leak. But by getting tight, to make your head slide in.
So you're cutting below center there.
Simple, right?
oh yeah, yeah. Depending on the,
It's a hook tool, isn't it, you're using?
so I'm using all hooks.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And you only get to cut on the forward stroke.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
pushing down, it's going to rotate the tool to me.
Yeah. And then it freewheels back. Yeah.
Slight manipulation of my tool. I'll be hurting tomorrow.
Let's see what you did.
That's what he did.
What's this on?
I wouldn't wonder how more linear woodturners are.
Wow. But, yeah, the subsequent bits turns.
Are you doing my teeth?
They just follow the hole before it. You see it off the top. Right now, we're still working against the solid wood. What would they use for hand dug well? Still vertically, still stand vertical like power. You could use them in the ground to get it.
When it's 4-4,
Yeah. Go. Trumpet, trumpet. Okay, let me get rid of this. I got to do it this way.
Wow, that was unreal.
Not a
Surely one leg is twice as big as the other after a while.
Well, David's a regular on here. He might be on this morning. I haven't seen him. He's on screen. He didn't know I was going to show this. I didn't tell him ahead. So, but if he's here, David, are you on here? No. It was the whole thing. It was a fabulous 3-day event, 2-day event. We went for a full day. I had no idea it would be so much fun. There was all kinds of wood crafts, and I actually made a 11-minute video that I'll post. It's got vignettes, single shots of some of the other woodworkers, barrel makers, and coopers, and timber framers, and everything else. But I thought the 2 lathes and the boring machine were right up our alley. I mean, that water pipe boring. Talk about slow turning.
Hey, John, on that pole lathe, it appeared that the wraparound, with the rope, was wrapped around the object itself rather than a reusable arbor. Did you notice that at all?
I am not sure. I think he did it a bit of both. He talked for a while about how many turns and how big the diameter is and how much stroke you get. He's quite into the diameter of where the rope is wrapped around and the sweep of the treadle govern how far it goes on each trompe, right? So he calibrates that pretty carefully to the size of the workpiece. That's about all I know about it.
Okay.
There's a center there. I think that's just a flat bowl blank with some kind of a center, but there was minimal metal parts on that lathe. It was almost all bits of wood all jammed together.
Back in the day, did they have sandpaper?
They did, sharkskin. And also they would glue, and they would glue ground glass onto pieces of parchment or paper using hide glue. So that's how sandpaper really was ground glass and then sands finely sifted. So they made their own,
They probably didn't have 400 grit or 320 grit.
I don't think they had it calibrated that anywhere near that close. I mean, if you look at old work, it's not finished to a modern standard. It's finished to a perfectly good standard. It's just different from what we like.
Right. Yeah.
Depends on the shark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, on the deep hollowing, they had a hold down. It looked like a tree bent over there. Did you see how it had it strapped down? Looked like they had about a 4-inch tree bent around the top of that thing and sprung underneath the lathe.
They might have. I don't know.
Oh my God, I can't imagine how they did that. But
well, the other thing about the hollowing the water pump, when they're hollowing out the log with the 12-foot auger, they've got bits from the one they were using is about 2 inches, and they got bits up to about 3.5. So they do successive borings, and it's enormously difficult work. It seems to take forever, although subsequent cuts go faster than the first one. I was just absolutely fascinated by that. I'd never seen it before. And what they were making was the vertical stand for a well. And they had wooden pump apparatus that were going to fit on top of it, so you could do this and get water out of the well. Talk about hard work, man.
Well, plus you're drilling the heartwood. It's not the sapwood. You're going right down the middle.
And it's white oak.
Yeah.
And the apparatus, they lined it up carefully with strings, and the apparatus had the cradle it was resting on had diagonal rows of holes, so they could adjust the boring bar up and down in 1/8-inch increments. to keep it aimed dead on true. They felt they had to get the first hole right, and then the other holes would go okay.
How tall was it, John?
I don't know. The log was about 10 feet long.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Hey, John, those treadle lathe, that thing looked like it must weigh 1,000 pounds.
The one you mean David's, the treadle one? Yeah. I don't think so. It disassembles. He brings it in apart. It all comes apart. It doesn't all go, And the having the wheel up like that, beside your ear, I've never seen that before. And of course, it would be considered very dangerous today. But that was an idiosyncratic design. I've never seen another one like that.
I had actually seen that design a few weeks ago, oddly enough, in some kind of recreated machine, and they were fixing a machine that was just like that. So
there you go. Yeah.
You know what? Mid-Atlantic they would get a lot of attention if they would bring one of those in to show as part of the symposium.
Let's have it in the lobby. I'll suggest it. Maybe we can make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's me today. Who's next? Jim, Barry? Let's do Barry and then come to Jim. Is that okay with you, Jim? Okay. Barry, what do you have today? You're muted. You're muted.
Unmute there without touching.
There you go.
Okay. A few weeks ago, I showed that steady rest that I had made, and the vase I was turning on it was starting to turn. I had about half the layers. It's going to be for this month's segmented turning challenge for the club.
Gee,
holy cow.
So this is, it's about 7 inches in diameter, and I guess about 10 inches tall. And it's each layer, if you will, is a Purple Heart and a Wingy make up one layer. And they start off at a 1/16 of an inch of Purple Heart, and they gain by an 1/8 of an inch each layer going up, and it terminates in all Purple Heart, just as it originates in all Wingy.
And how many wedges?
The bottom layer wedges all the pieces all the way to the center. And Wingy is very porous, so I couldn't get I can get it shiny, but I couldn't get a smooth surface on it.
How many segments in each ring?
I'm sorry?
How many pie-shaped segments? How many wedges in one?
Each layer has 12.
Okay. So 12 triangles, so they're what, 30 degrees?
Well, each layer has, 12 layers of one species and 12 layers of another. So there's 24 pieces in each set, if you will. So there's a 9 times 12, whatever that is.
So as you change the relative thickness of those, is that linear or a geometric progression? I mean, are they changing by 1/8 of an inch each layer, or what's the ratio? What's going on there?
I have to think back now when I did it. It basically, I thickness planed one species, like let's just say Wingy. Excuse me. I thickness planed the Wingy to like 15/16 of an inch, and made a bunch of pieces, and then glued on a Purple Heart on top of it at like 1 inch thick. So there was a lot of waste on here. So each layer was like almost an inch of Wingy and almost an inch of Purple Heart. And then I just thinned them down so that the smaller layer got thicker sequentially. It's kind of hard to describe, but I wound up with each ring being 1 inch thick. And they were boards about, or strips about 2.5 feet long that were then cut into wedges. And each wedge had a layer of Wingy and a layer of Purple Heart at different proportions.
So you layered you made the thicknesses of the rings after you glued them up, not before. I mean, you glued up the two blanks in each thing and then removed wood from top or the bottom to get the thickness of layers that you wanted. Is that right?
Yeah, a given ring before, I had basically 12, or I'm sorry, 9 rings, each with 12 wedges in it. And one of those rings would be all wengy. And then the next layer would be wengy, except for the top 1/16 of an inch. And the next layer, less and less wengy, more and more Purple Heart going through it. And they were
what I mean is,
rings that you would see, they were cut to they were not all the same diameter. They were cut to a respective diameter. I laid the curve out on some software and just determined the maximum diameter at each inch.
Very nice piece.
So how long did it take you to glue that up, Barry?
Gluing it up goes pretty quickly. I probably spent more time deliberating on how thick to cut the wedges. I mean, how wide for wall thickness.
Yeah.
To cut the wedges, because on the computer you had to draw the inside and the outside curve and rectangularize each 1-inch section and allow for some curvature waste and some slop. And one ring I cut a little bit off, and about halfway down, if you run your hand down inside it, you can feel like where the 12 blocks come together, where it just didn't, I didn't open up the hollow wide enough out of fear of going through or weakening. It's about from somewhere between an eighth and at the top, it's an eighth of an inch thick, and it builds up to about 3/16 or a quarter.
Very cool.
They're pretty lightweight.
Very cool.
Barry, how'd you hollow out that deep? That's 10 inches, right? What did you use to reach that far in?
What did I use to what?
To reach way down for the 10-inch hollowing, what kind of tool did you use?
Yeah, I didn't have to reach way down.
Barry does it.
You have two starting points, and you secure this ring with the foot on it to the chuck, and you sequentially glue on rings with each ring on center until you get to an approximate halfway point. And then you hollow out the inside of that and record your inside diameter. And then you do the same with the other half. It's on its own foot, and you build it out, and you wind up with the same inside diameter, and then you put the two halves together. And there is a small, when you run your hand down it, the two diameters are not ridge free, but that's all you have to clean up when you're all done is that center joint halfway down. And you can do that with a sanding disc and just sand it smooth, or you can put a boring tool in there. But they are the easiest hollow vessel to make. They're just time consuming to get all those pieces. I probably, aside from the computer actual shop time, I probably have a good 8 hours or 10 hours in it.
Any other
So it's
questions?
not something somebody would want to do to sell at this level of creativity. It's just a standard ring assembly. Some of these kind where they like one of you guys showed before with the disappearing pieces, and that gets into too much mental power on how to figure it out.
Yeah. Anybody else on Barry's segmenting project? Very handsome vessel, I'll say. That's very pretty. Okay, Bowman. I get the spotlight off Barry and put the spotlight on you, Jim.
Yep. And I'm going to start by sharing screen.
Go for it.
Yep. And I'll do it this way and do function F. One of the nice things that happens when you clean up your wood pile after 20 years, sometimes you find a nice chunk of wood with grain down in it. I swear this is cherry from 20, maybe even more years ago that came off of the community cherry tree that was done. This, just to make clear, this is third views of the same vessel. In other words, I rotate them when I photograph them.
I was hoping it was 3 vessels.
No. This was a lot of work, and has epoxy in for the voids, which is what attracted me to it. But the top grain, you may see a demarcation between where the ridge starts up to the curve. That lightens up, and it actually looks like the grain wraps around in a different kind of way. I suspect it may have been a little burled or something. I don't know. The challenge is, I gotta get rid of you guys here so I can navigate. The challenge is well, let me show it this way. I'll show us another detail, then I want to talk about the challenge. It has to do with hollowing. You see my grooves there? Well, they were cut. I got a new carbide tool. Sorry about that, guys, but occasionally I love carbide. I got a new tool with a new shape. And I said, hey, I see potential. And so I cut the 2 little grooves with this tool. Didn't have to sand it much because of the carbide. Now, here's the challenge. You can see I didn't do a very good job down in there. This vessel is 8 inches tall and 8.5 wide diameter. I could not reach all the way down. I bored the biggest Forstner I have on this one. This has a 6-inch opening on top. I'm gonna get a rasp tool and work off this edge right here, and then take a chisel down or a flap sander and try to sand it. I finished it with Odie's oil because that's my go-to finish for when I have epoxy. But inside, it didn't do well. I should have used Mahoney's or something, which I often do inside. Then you don't see the bad turning.
You're worried about, is that a round plug that's standing up from the bottom of the vessel? Is that what I'm seeing?
That's a hole going down to where the foot is. That's
Okay.
I couldn't reach any further with all the chisels I have. I've used Trent Bosch's stabilizer. Didn't like it a great deal. I mean, it's an excellent piece of machinery, but it didn't suit me. I bought Robert Sorby's Steady Pro, and man, that one would let me chew away in there, but it's wider, and so it takes up more chisel space. You know, the chisel part, you can't get as deep. I'm still puzzled as to how to get down deep enough for that kind of stuff. I'm not lucky enough, like, I wasn't going to cut it in half like Barry's and then glue it back together. So,
you could just change your mind about it and decide it's okay the way it is.
well, I might just let it that way. I may go in and remove the crap and let it and return it a little bit and then finish it.
Hey,
Now,
Jim, this is Ken.
Ken.
Do you have a small diameter easy wood tool or carbide tool of any sort? Because if you have a real small diameter and you get down there in that, you can work your tool rest almost into it, and you can get way down in, even though you have small easy wood tool.
Well, you're on the right track. I have a Carter cup, which cuts nicely, but it has a short, maybe 9 inches. I need to reach through that Steady Pro. So I don't know if I need to buy a longer tool, but then you got to go to a bigger one because at some point you need 3/4 inch to reach that deep. But you're right. I have a bunch of carbide tools. I started with carbide. I use the Rikon Sept because they got massive rods, which, but they only reach again 9 inches or something like that for the tool. So yeah, good point. I think I'm gonna try look and see if somebody has a longer rod that I could mount a carder on, or another carbide.
Mike Prezzo has some advice for you. Mike, what's your comment? You're muted.
Yeah, I have a Jameson setup I made almost 20 years ago, and he has a great little setup for a #1 hunter cutter, which is the dished carbide. Does a fabulous job. I have an urn that I'm finishing off now that I did with it a year ago, and finally getting around to finishing it. That does a great job on end grain and comes out with a surface. Like if I'm doing a hollowing on a box with a hunter, I got a surface that's probably about 180 right off the tool.
You know, those tools, awesome. Those carbide cup tools functionally are hardly different from the old style ring tools.
Yeah, just shallower, much shallower, and they're not as grabby. There's a technique with them. You basically tilt them at about 30, 40 degrees, 30, 35 degrees, and just don't lay them flat. You'll kill yourself. But very easy to use. I love them.
Mike, my problem is I'm a little too impatient. I don't have pictures here to show, but I got a bad hand slap the other day, a week ago, because I jammed my big old gouge into a nubbin, and it threw my hand over against the spinning thing and gave me a good gash. But I'm learning. But I'm too impatient, I guess. Those carders will do nice, but they do them slowly. I mean, you don't remove stuff, you trim it, so. But I love this piece. I'm sorry. It just, it's and nice I love that tool. Mm-hmm. I was going to show you one last thing here, this one.
Hey, Bert, are you jumping in this discussion, or you want to show some work before we quit?
No, I wanted to just make a comment for Jim when you're talking about deep boring. Just go to a metal supermarket and buy a piece of 3/4 inch bar about 2.5 feet long, and then take a grinder, put a flat in it, and drill and tap a metric hole or whatever size to hold your cutters. And that's what I do. I've got 4 or 5 bars of different lengths and different diameters. So if you're going 10 inches, get a piece of 1-inch bar and just put a little tiny flat on the end and mount your cutter on it. You get rid of vibration, you can get in as deep as you want, and it's long enough. If it's not long enough, you just stick a piece of 2x4 on the end and get it as long as you need.
Thank you. Good idea. I realize you have to manufacture your tools when the manufacturers don't make them for you. So,
how about you, Kai? Are you joining this?
And it's really, really cheap. It's really, really cheap. Just a piece of metal. It costs you like $15, and you've got a cutter that'll do whatever you want, and it only takes like 20 minutes to make.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got a little tool rest set up to show that might solve some of the problem depending on the width of the opening Jim has. So I could share that if Jim is ready.
Yeah, just give me a quick second. Ron, yeah. I've been wanting to try textures. Ron Brown has, I didn't want to spend the big bucks, so I knew if they really worked. Ron Brown has a little $60 or less one, and I loved it. I used it for this thing. I'm still on a venture to try to get a chatter tool that works. I can't seem to get them to work yet, but yeah, so that was the essence. Let me stop my share. I'd like to see Kai's solution. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, Kai.
Just a second. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can see the hollow form in the background, the drawing, and yep. The idea was to bring the tool rest as far into the hollow form as possible. So I use a very small tool rest from a mini lathe here, and then extended this, and then you can put your tool on here, and you don't have the leverage that you normally have if the tool rest is outside the hollow form. So that might be an idea as well.
That needs to be a pretty big hollow form to make that work.
Yeah, the problem is you need a solid bar here of a certain thickness, and the tool rest wants to be on center or a little bit below center. So the opening needs to be quite big. Yeah, that's the kind of setback or drawback of that setup.
Very
The
nice.
problem when you have a big opening is everybody gets their hand in there. You can't hide anything. Even if you paint it black, you can't hide it because they can feel it. Yeah, I'm in the wider openings, and so everybody inspects them pretty carefully. My wife complains. I say, "Why do you throw away stuff that has cracks in the bottom, even if they're little?" She says, "Everybody turns them over and looks at them." And that's the way it is with our hollow forms. Everybody sticks their fingers in it. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of work, but it was great fun. So.
And on that, kids, we're right up on 11 o'clock. And I do have another announcement I forgot to make, and that is next Tuesday night, the Lancaster Club and the Susquehanna Club are combining forces to have a demo from Dave Landers, going to show us these wave bowls. And you can see him here's what we're going to see how to do. Spotlight for everyone. You're going to see that. So that's coming up on Tuesday night next week, the 13th, I guess it is. That's my other announcement.
John, to follow up on that date is an overlap with Del Val also. Their meetings that night, but I'm going to go to the Dave Landers because I thought this is fascinating. So.
Yeah, well, there you are. We'll be recording it anyway, although I haven't discussed with Dave who gets to post it, but I will. We'll make sure that he's okay if we're going to post it, or else he'll post it or something like that. Anybody else? I think we're done for the day, and we'll see you all next week. We're back on our regular winter schedule. Every week we'll be here. I do not have a September guest star lined up, but I think Ernie has been negotiating with some of the tool dealers. We might try that. We had a date with Meryl Salen, and she is running into some health issues and will not be able to be with us. So we have an open slot for September guest star. And if we're going to go forward in October, November, let me know if there's famous turners you'd like to hear from. We've had pretty good luck inviting people. They all show up. So somebody you want to see, I've got a little list of my own, but I'm happy to hear from other people what you'd like us to bring in.
Hey, John, Dave is unmuted. I wonder if he wanted to make a comment.
Do you, Dave?
I guess I could. Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of turning. We will turn the outside of a piece like that, but yeah, a lot of fiddling around on the bandsaw and arrangement of the aesthetics and everything to get that slice where you want it and get the butterflies where the slice goes and all of that. Should be a lot of fun, assuming that, well, I've got 2 bandsaws, and a couple of days ago, the one I was planning to use decided to bite the dust. So it's all in pieces now. So, but I got a backup, so we're okay.
Yeah,
but,
I'm really interested in seeing the jig, because that seems to be the secret of how you cut that thing on the bandsaw.
That is the secret, and I will show that. And I also have like a handout that I'll send out here that you guys can send out to the club that kind of details where I got the jig plans and all of that stuff.
Okay, the meetings are going to be a little bit inverted. The demo will be 7 to 8, roughly. The Lancaster Club is going to have its regular meeting after the demo. The Susquehanna Club is going to have its regular meeting before the demo. So in the middle there's going to be a switch of, you got to log on and log in again. That's all in the emails that Barry sent out, and we'll coach you all through it. I am not sure whether we're going to do this out in New Holland or just have everybody be remote. I'll have to talk with the other guys and see what we do. But we'll let you know by email whether anybody's going to be in New Holland on Tuesday. Okay. Thank you very much. See you all next week.
Yeah.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
See you
John.
next week.
Good day.
Bye, Michael.
Yeah,
Thank
you, Don.
Bye-bye. See you next week.
Bye. See you next week.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys. Thank you, John.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.